All right, y'all. Just start watching the show. It's called Good American Family, and it has Ellen Pompeo in it, who most of you should know that she's from Grey's Anatomy. And I've been watching that for 21 years, and I can truly say I have not seen her in anything else. I'm sure she's been in something else, but I just haven't seen it. So as soon as I saw her on the cover of Good American Family, I just knew I was gonna have to go ahead and watch it. So when the show opens up, we get introduced to Christine Barnett and her husband Michael. So pretty much Christine Barnett, she is an author and she's also a teacher. She has helped children who are on the autism spectrum, and she has a son. Both of them, they have a son who is autistic. So anyway, when the show opens up, she's being given accolades as she speaks about her book on parenting, and she's talking about autism and about how she followed her gut and how they had told her that her son would never speak again, he would never have a normal life, he would not develop normally, none of that. And pretty much they told her that she needs to give up on him. But what ended up happening is she decided that she was the expert on her son, and she said in her words that she does not give up on the people that she loves. So while she's addressing the crowd, the police come in and they arrest her for neglect and for conspiracy to commit neglect. And this is when this movie started reminding me of that movie The Orphan, and I didn't know where it was going to go because it's literally the opening scene. But there's also some other true story where these are actually like real life events that took place. It's loosely based off of a true story. So anyway, she claims she's innocent from the beginning, and then they take us back in time. So we go back to 2010. So when it opens, we're in 2019, but they take it back to 2010. All right. So as soon as they open up, it's very clear that they are struggling. And when I say they, I mean Christine Barnett and her husband Michael Barnett. They are struggling with their relationship. In fact, she even says that in her first words, we were struggling. They had a child that they thought they were going to be able to, well, they adopted her and they thought they'd be able to keep her. Her name was Blanca, but that fell through. So apparently the husband is having more difficulty separating from the adopted daughter than she is. So they're having some problems in their relationship. Also, it's clear that Christine is very successful in what she's doing. She's giving back. She's making a difference with children. And the kids really seem to love her. Like, they come to her facility and they don't want to leave. So her friend asked her about giving her a donation. And she says she has so much money coming in, in grants or whatever, gifts, that she didn't need the money. So then her friend asks about her and Michael and how they're holding up after everything they've been through. So with this, it takes us back to the fact that their marriage is struggling. So Christine responds and says, "We're hanging in there." So anyway, I took a couple of notes about Michael. One of the things I noticed about Michael is he seemed to me, I found him to be very irritating from the minute he got stepped on the screen. First thing he did when he walked in the house is start complaining about how the boys didn't call to say goodnight. But from another perspective, he seems upset that he doesn't have a normal relationship with Jacob, who is on the autism spectrum. And he works a lot, and he doesn't feel like he have enough time with his children more so. He says his family, but he seems to be more concerned just, about the kids. In fact, Jacob, who is still awake, working on string theory and some other ideas that he thought about, he encourages him to stop working on that and to let's get some Pop-Tarts and play some video games. So he very much wants to bond with his son or with his children, his family. But it just doesn't seem like things are happening the way he wants them to happen. So he storms off to his room. So clearly they see differently on a few things. So like I said, he's 12. He should be in bed. When he gets to the room, he's like, well, now I got to sleep in here with you. Basically, he accused her of letting him, the son, Jacob, stay up late so that he would have to sleep in the bed with his wife. So apparently he was sleeping on the sofa, and he accuses Christine of letting Jacob stay up to force him to sleep in the bed with her, which is actually incorrect. But he chooses to sleep on the floor instead. So the reason why he chooses to sleep on the floor is because he's still upset over losing their adoptive daughter, and he feels like Christine has moved on too quickly, and he's still grieving and he's depressed. Not just losing her, but he's mad at Christine because he feels like she should not have moved on so quickly. And he doesn't understand why she isn't depressed, why she isn't upset, yada, yada, yada. A little later on in the show, she actually says that she was brought up not to wallow and to move on. And later in the show, when we meet her mother, I could definitely see why she has the attitude that she has, because her mother is pretty much no nonsense and seemed to have very little concern about feelings. She's just like a matter of a fact type of person. And also later, I don't have all the details, but we do learn that Michael grew up feeling unloved. So hopefully they'll explore that more as the show goes on. He probably wants that connection from a child because he doesn't feel like he's getting it from his boys and his wife. So maybe he feels like a girl would make the difference. So a little down the line, I did hear him say that Christine actually saved him and changed his life. So I don't know what happened to the connection between them, that he felt like he needed an adopted child, preferably a daughter, in order to feel whole. But he's still very much upset, very much upset. And I personally feel like he's wrong. He's wrong. Like, you can't be mad over how somebody else is or is not grieving. Now, let's say they're doing something that's self-sabotaging, they're hurting themselves or something. Okay, I could understand you being upset with their behavior. But how can you be upset with the way, because somebody doesn't process their feelings the same way you process yours? So part of him processing his feeling is he overworks. He's always at work. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that, how I think he doesn't really deal with his issues. He just occupies his time or finds something else to move on to or whatever, or sets his goal on something else, and then he'll pursue that. Okay, so if he gets the daughter and everything works out fine, then what? So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, how the rest of these episodes are going to go. So anyway, they get this phone call, a random call, about a little girl that she's in a pinch, and she might have to go to a group home in the next 24 hours if they're unable to place her. So the company called for, I forget their name, but they used that tactic basically to get these people to come down there, and they were like, yeah, we're on it. And they said, not everyone's heart is big enough. That's why we called you. And so even though I'll give it to Michael, he did have some reservations, and he was saying, look what happened the last time. Do we want to go through that again? And Christine's, her attitude is, as soon as I got the call, I knew what we had to do. So I think I'm with Michael, especially considering how fragile, I'm going to say, he seems to be. He's afraid of getting hurt again. And I think Christine just wants her husband back. She just wants him to feel better. And she feels them being more and more divided and separated and slipping away. And I think she's willing to make this sacrifice, because she even gives up money that they really can't even afford to spend. I'm going to say it was like a soft pressure. Like, I know it's a sales tactic that is used called, basically, you take something away. So when you want somebody to want something more, you take it away, and then you be like, well, this price isn't going to always be available, or next week the price goes up, or next week, or, something like that. It's just a sales tactic so that you can get your prospective buyer to basically buy what you're talking about. So anyway, she was like, well, don't worry about the money. If you don't have it, we'll just have to go ahead and put her in a group home until you get everything worked out. And matter of fact, that statement was made after she said, well, we'll have to consult with an attorney. So she said, we'll just have to put her in a home until you sort through things. So anyway, Natalia, they get her, they leave, because, they're pressured. So they give in to the pressure and they go ahead and they go. And they take a before they even leave, Natalia, she says, well, I haven't had any breakfast. And they said, what? You haven't had breakfast? Of course, we got to stop and get her something to eat. So to me, I feel like this little girl is showing signs of being a problem right away. And trust and believe, she does not take a long time to show that she is a problem. So they take Natalia and their boys to the beach, and they're having lunch on the at a place on the beach. And like I said, this little girl starts showing her hand. Matter of fact, let me go back a little bit. Before they left, she asked for more hugs for Hercules. Hercules is the teddy bear that they had gotten for Blanca, and apparently Michael's very attached to it. So anyway, they gave Hercules to Natalia, and they told her it has a whole bunch of hugs from all the time they spent waiting for her. So before they could even leave the dang on hotel adoption agency, Natalia is saying Hercules ran out of hugs and he need a refill. And can she get one too? So like I said, it sounded cute and everything, but from the outside looking in, and maybe that might be it too, I'm looking at this little girl like, you need to go sit down someplace, right? Because we literally just got here and got you, and you already making demands. So then she goes on, and that's when she starts talking about being hungry. So they get out here to the dang on beach, and everybody's enjoying themselves, and she's questioning Christine. She's like, why aren't you eating, mommy? Something about her tone. And she says, well, I'm not hungry, right now, or whatever she said. And then the boys want to go down to the beach, so she lets them go down to the beach. So now all of a sudden Natalia wants to go down to the beach. And she says, well, you can go to the beach, but just give me a few minutes. Let me eat these scraps. And this little girl says, but I thought you weren't hungry, mommy. Now see, that's the difference because I promise you that conversation would have gone differently. It would have gone completely differently. But one thing I'm going to give Christine credit for is that she did really good. I think she does great with setting boundaries and establishing boundaries around herself, around the kids, around her career, and like with her husband, etc. So I also noticed that a little bit early. I didn't speak on it, but I noticed she's pretty good with boundaries because she's good with boundaries, and then she's also good with I'm gonna say not being rigid with the boundaries, but being able to expand the boundaries based on the needs of the child, which is probably why she's having so much success with her son with autism and with other people's children. And then another fact about her son Jacob, which I know you guys know if you've been watching it, is that he is already getting ready to go to college, and he's 15 years old, and he's like a genius, so. But they have different opinions on things, which is okay. But from what I see, Christine has very good boundary issues, and Michael does not have good boundary issues. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go on. So anyway, back to this at the beach, wanting to go down to the water thing. So Natalia wants to go down to the water, so she starts having a tantrum because she can't go down to the water. They didn't say no, they said just wait a minute. And then she didn't even ask, can she go down to the water? She said, can you carry me down to the water? I see that as another problem. Okay? This little girl right off the bat is asking for too much stuff. Whatever, even a pet. They are so happy to be in your presence and have somebody that want them. They ain't going to keep asking you for this, that, and the third. They're happy for whatever you do for them, whatever you give them. They don't just keep making demands. I need more hugs. I need a refill. I want you to carry me down to the beach. Okay, that's just my observation. So anyway, she tells her to wait. This little girl starts screaming and hollering. It's not fair. It's not fair. Banging on the table and literally picks up her plate and throws it. And when I tell you, everybody at the cabana, everybody on the beach was looking at them because this little girl was wiling out. And not only did she wild out, she got her little behind up and ran to the shore. So keep in mind, She ain't even supposed to be able to walk, right? She got a walker. But she didn't have no need for that walker when she decided she was going to go down there to that water. So I've been looking sideways at this little girl since this show started. And I feel like I was doing the right thing, too, because, yeah, they ain't wasting no time getting into it. And I like that. We don't got to wait until next to the last episode before we find out what's really going on with this little girl. So I like that right there. All right. So now that Natalia has gotten up and ran to the shore without her walker, she just got up and ran. Now Christine and Michael, they're questioning Natalia's ability to walk. So they're making excuses for her behavior. They're saying things like, I guess we have another stubborn kid on our hands. And Christine is making up this weird excuse about how Natalia was able to press past the pain because she really wanted to go down to the shore so badly that she was able to press past the pain, and that's the reason why she was able to get up and run down to the beach. So it's crazy how that happened. So anyway, when they arrive home and they take Natalia to her new room, she is very unexcited. She does not like the princess room. She says that it looks babyish. Those are her words. I don't like, this looks like a room for a princess. It looks babyish. And this is where Christine says, Natalia, that isn't kind. Daddy spent a lot of time putting this room together for you. And Natalia's response is, oh, I thought you did it. Then explaining that she didn't mean to hurt his feelings. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Daddy. But she prefers a rocker room. So he rewards her behavior by singing a rock song because he used to be in a band. All right, so let's talk about that right there. So you was trying to hurt mommy's feelings? Because I feel like that's the only thing that Michael should have had to say is, hold on, wait a minute. What do you mean you thought mommy did it? Like that's the problem right there. So in other words, because she thought Christine did it, she wanted to hurt her feelings and say she ain't like the room. But when she found out he put the room together, she was like, oh, well, I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I just prefer, like, she even knew how to handle an objection, if you ask me. I don't know too many 7-year-olds that know how to come back with appropriate objections. Normally, their objections don't make no sense, or they just make sense to them. So anyway, as her husband and as Natalia's co-parent, I feel like Michael should have had her back, but he did not. He was more concerned about making Natalia comfortable, thus excusing her rudeness and her meanness. She disrespected his wife, and so did he. I feel like we're seeing the beginning of how Natalia is going to continue to break down and destroy their relationship, and she's going to do it in a very passive-aggressive type manner. So next we see the family at the breakfast table, and the boys want to talk about why Natalia was able to get a Pop-Tart last night. So they ain't wasting no time. They're like, let's just get down to it because this is not normal. We got rules and certain ways we do things in this house. And she refused to eat dinner, but she was able to get a Pop-Tart. So let's talk about that. So it was just this once. It was her first night home. This is one of the excuses that Michael gave for why he allowed her to have a Pop-Tart. And then he went on to basically Natalia exposed him unintentionally that they played video games as well. And so when it was brought up, Natalia's response to Christine was, yeah, and fair isn't always equal, which is something that Christine said to Natalia at the beach. So now this 7-year-old is throwing her words back at her, making me ask, what kind of 7-year-old are you? Because I promise you, I would not have signed those papers. I would have got me and my whole, come on family, let's go to the beach and enjoy ourselves while we're here. Because she's staying right here. She'll be okay in the group home. Sorry, that's what I would have done. So why do we as people, we always try to take ourselves like out of what we know? We know what we're seeing. We know what we're hearing. We know what we're feeling. We know what we're sensing. But we ignore it. And everything was telling them that situation wasn't right. The hotel, motel, adoption agency, the medical expenses, the not being able to be told what went wrong with the other adoptive parents. They had all of the red flags there, and they knew in their gut that it won't right, but they still signed those papers and adopted that child. So let me ask y'all, did you know that your gut is considered your second brain? And that's probably why we have sayings like trust your gut. But unfortunately, most of us don't trust our guts. So anyway, Christine is clearly not okay with Michael failing to show unity and solidarity amongst the two of them. And I could definitely understand that. That's not all right. Michael already sees that Natalia is favoring him, so he offers Christine some advice. How kind of him, right? So this is what he tells her. He says, Natalia is like a little cat. Just wait for her to come to you. And Christine asks him, so that's what you're doing? And then he takes it like, she took a shot at him. But for real, she asked the right question. Is that what you're doing? Because so far what we see is Michael doing things in order to be favored. For example, agreeing to take her to the water after she threw a tantrum and threw a plate on the concrete and broke it. Instead of getting disciplined or chastised or whatever you want to call it, he says he'll take her down to the water. This little girl expenses are adding up if you ask me. Because they show up, they got to pay $7,000, right? Now you breaking dishes in Myrtle Beach. I'm sure they had to pay for that too. So you ain't even been with us a full 24 hours. Matter of fact, you ain't even been with us for 3 hours, and you done already cost us $7,000 plus. Not to include the embarrassment of all of them people on the beach looking at them. But anyway, what else is Michael doing to be favored? He's letting her have a Pop-Tart to replace her dinner because she refused to eat dinner. So if you don't eat dinner, in whose house do you get whose house? Because not my house. Whose house do you get a whole nother meal or whatever it is you want to eat if you decide that you don't want to eat what was made for dinner? I don't know what kind of house some people grew up in, but in my house you eat what was made for dinner. Period. When I say the only problem, I'm probably wrong for saying that because I've stated several times that I don't really care for Michael. But I'm going to take this time to say that he is a nice guy. He seems like a nice guy. I just don't like how he's moving with his wife and with the kids too, especially with Natalia. But where Michael is concerned, when I said he was the only problem, I just meant, he's sleeping in the other room. He's coming home complaining about the kids not calling, like he couldn't pick up the phone and call the kids. Like just sort of whiny, and I don't know. I don't really care for all of that, but he seemed to have been the only problem. And she seemed to have been coping with it and dealing with it and managing, I would say. But now they got this damn Natalia Grace, who is nothing graceful about this little girl. They need to call her Natty Batty because I think she is bat, out of her mind. But anyway, so I just said that seemed to be like the only problem that they have. But now they got Natty Batty, and she's causing division and everything. And so I'm about to wrap this up. But before the whole thing ended, Christine was having the newspaper come and interview her. And as a result of them coming to interview her, she, had a lot of things to do. She had a lot on her plate. She had a lot of things she had to get ready. She was still trying to cook. She was trying to make sure everything was perfect because this was going to give her some advertisement for her daycare / recreation center that she was opening. So Natalie comes in and she's not dressed in the proper attire, and she refuses to change her clothes. So then she has the nerve to get smart, and she's like, well, I came down here because I wanted to help. So Christine says, okay, well, let me give you something you can do. So she tells her what she wants her to do, and what little Natty Batty does is she says, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And she decides to pick up the biggest knife in the kitchen, the chef's knife, and decides she's going to cut up whatever she was cutting up. And so, of course, fearing for her safety, Christine went over to try to take the knife from her, but she refused to let the knife go. She would not relinquish the knife. And so eventually Christine had to go ahead and use her strength against her and take the knife from her. So, of course, Michael would walk in at this time and he would assume that Christine, has done something. But she said, I grabbed the knife from her. And he's like, well, you grabbed her? Like she did something wrong. Okay, 7-year-old child and knife. That don't go together. So what else is, she had to grab it. She had to physically take it away from her because she would not let it go. I'm telling you, he should not be questioning her. He should not be second guessing her. She even explained to him that she was afraid. She felt like she was trying to hurt her and she was very scared. And he didn't hear any of that. All he heard is, you grabbed Natty Batty. Okay? So, of course, he's consoling and comforting her. And now Natalie is crying. Mommy hurt me. So on and so forth. And she's like, look, she's starting to panic because she's really overwhelmed. I think she realizes that she done bit off more than she's able to chew at this point. And so she tells her husband, she says, look, I need you. I need you. And of course, he agrees. Yeah, everything is going to be okay. Everything's going to go fine. So, of course, they end up having a little conversation, the dad and Natalie, and he explains to her how mommy feels like you don't like her. And I don't like that either, because he should not be telling the child the private conversations between him and his wife about how she feels. That's for them to know. You know what I mean? And when she talked to her son, that was between them. That's not for him to be going back telling little badass what the problem is so that she could go and create more problems. That don't even make sense to me. But that's what he did. And she, of course, tried to turn it around and say, well, I don't think mommy likes me. So none of this clicks in his head. How did you come up with mommy not liking you? She's been nothing but nice to her. And she's tolerated her the absolute best that she could, because I'd have snatched her up by now. But anyway, this girl is very jealous acting. And when Christine announces that she's decided to name the recreation center and the daycare Jacob's Place, all of a sudden, now Natalie has to steal all of the attention. And she starts yelling, mommy, mommy, mommy. Now there's a whole room full of people. She's in the middle of giving a speech, and here comes this girl from the back talking about, I can't get my dress zipped up, forcing her to introduce her to everybody. Basically, she tried to steal her shine. And you don't expect this from a 7-year-old, but I'm going to be honest, I've seen it before. I've seen children try to steal other kids' shine or whatever, try to compete with them. If they do something, they be like, ooh, look at me, I can do it better. And then the parent just reinforces that behavior by not correcting the child and saying, they don't have to do it in that moment, but at some point you need to correct the child and let them know that everything is not a competition. You don't have to always do everything better than the next person, yada, 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 yada. That's not a good quality, to always be in competition with somebody else, especially when nobody's competing with you. Nobody's thinking about you. So anyway, this behavior was not corrected. Instead, it was applauded. The dad was applauded for doing such a wonderful job, when really all he did was cross a whole bunch of boundaries and basically give her some more information that she could manipulate her with. So anyway, that's enough of this episode, because for real, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this little girl already. I can already tell she is going to be a lot of trouble. Like I said, she came in stealing. She came in lying, being destructive, being abusive, being verbally abusive as well, being manipulative, and creating division. Now, even though she's doing all of these things, it's their fault, Christine and Michael, because they're the ones that's allowing this child to come in between them. So that's something that they got to work on. But just as far as Natty Batty is concerned, that little girl is trouble. And since she's a fictional character, or matter of fact, she's not, because it's a true story, I don't care. Natty Batty. She's on some other stuff. Well, anyway, that was episode 1 of Good American Family, and I will be back probably tomorrow with episode 2, and the day after with episode 3, and then I'll start doing them weekly on Wednesdays when the episode actually comes out, and we'll do them from week to week. So I hope you guys will tune in. Please like the channel, subscribe, share the video, and leave me a comment. Let me know where, excuse me, where you're watching from. And let me know what you think about some of the things that we talked about, like how the marriage is being divided,